Do you think masochists beat themselves up about being masochists?
What? What are you on about?
Well, it's part of the game, isn't it? Well, this is a podcast. Welcome everybody to the very first thing. I've been wanting to do a podcast for quite a while. It's always been quite an interesting idea. There's no real focus for this podcast. We're just going to be talking about some shit. So before we properly get into it, have you got any opening gambits?
What would you do if you were given an elephant and you weren't able to get rid of it?
Where on earth? Where on earth did that come from? Hello, welcome to the podcast. Here's an elephant. What do you do?
No, but seriously, like you're given an elephant, you've got it for life. What do you do with it?
Why are we doing this? I'd ride it around, obviously. I mean, I haven't got a car, so the elephant would be quite handy.
And then you'd have to give them peanuts or something.
You know elephants don't actually eat peanuts though, don't you?
If you had to eat peanuts for the rest of your life, what would happen to you?
Well, I'm allergic to peanuts, so I'd probably die quite quickly. Anyway, for those of you listening, the idea of this podcast is that we talk about the first subject that comes into our heads and then we just roll with it and see how many stupid things we can come out with. The first subject appears to be elephants.
Can we change it now?
To what?
I don't know, like best cereal or something like that.
Best cereal. Alright, what's the best cereal then? I know what isn't the best cereal.
What's that then?
Weetabix. Right, I had about a 6-month spell as a child where I couldn't eat Weetabix because it reminded me of this old woman's head that I saw in a magazine that my nan had.
Please go on.
So yeah, what happened was I was eating Weetabix one morning at my nan's house. I must have been about 9 or 10 at the time, and she used to read these magazines, you know, like TV magazines and stuff like that. And there used to be a crossword page at some point, and my nan used to let me do one of them as like a treat, you know, because all the cool kids get to do crosswords.
Of course,
So
yeah.
anyway, I flick over to the crossword page, and on the other side there's like a selection of women who were giving their opinions on stuff. I can't remember exactly what it was, but there was this one woman, I even remember her name, right? Her name was Nancy, and she was 56. But she looked like a soggy Weetabix. Her head just looked like Weetabix that had been dunked in milk for too long. And then I looked down at my Weetabix, which was in the exact same state. And that was a struggle to finish, I tell you that. It felt like I was eating this woman's head. And after that, I couldn't touch Weetabix for about 6 months. Every time I thought about having some, Nancy's head just came back into view. And that was it, really.
So, what made you go back to it? What convinced you to have Weetabix again?
I guess I just got over it. You know, I must have just realised, you know, this isn't an old woman's head. You're not eating somebody. It's Weetabix, and it's nice. And I just went back to it.
Do you still eat it now?
I can't eat it now because it makes me shit through the eye of a needle. But back then, I managed to get over it.
That is, wow, that is strange. Even compared to some of the shit that I've come out with, that is seriously strange. You refuse to eat Weetabix because it looked like some woman that you saw in a magazine. That's different level. That's different stratosphere.
Yeah, but when you're a kid, you know, shit gets to you. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to eat something that feels like I'm eating a human.
Yeah, but it doesn't feel like that. Your brain is creating that because this woman looks like Weetabix.
The brain's a powerful thing.
Yours evidently isn't.
Well, we all do stupid things as kids, don't we? But Weetabix is my least favourite cereal.
Alright then, what's your favourite cereal?
At the moment, Cocoa Pops.
Jesus Christ. Cocoa Pops. Are you sure that you haven't got one of those rare conditions where you're just 7 years old forever?
Cocoa Pops are amazing. They're like Rice Krispies with personality. You know, you eat Rice Krispies and you think, yeah, that'll do. And they do the job. But when you want that bit of oomph, you want something a bit extra, you go for the Cocoa Pops.
Yeah, but it's a child cereal. It has no place in an adult's diet. It has absolutely nothing that will benefit your body in any way.
You're just jealous because you don't have any.
Unbelievable. You leave Weetabix behind because of some scary old woman and then you move on to Cocoa Pops. Like, what does your mum think of this?
She's fine with it. It's on a default weekly shopping list now. The old Asda delivery. That's one of the first things on it.
I thought I was going to be the weird one. Your mum willingly buys Cocoa Pops for you. Like I said, are you sure you don't have that rare condition?
Look, not everything is age specific.
Yeah, but you wouldn't go to the park and play on the swings, would you?
No, because I get arrested. What I'm saying is, sometimes things are just too good to give up. You know, Cocoa Pops is one of those things. Animal Biscuits is another one. Magic Stars. There's so many things that you wouldn't see an adult buy that I have to buy because I can't let it go.
Magic Stars were great, to be fair. I loved Magic Stars as a kid. You had those like personalities on the front as well, didn't you? You had like Baby Star or Happy Star
Pissed Up
or
Star, Druggy Star. Magic Stars were unreal, but they're like the kind of thing that I could only buy online because I'd look like a weirdo buying them in a shop. And buy it online, I mean like as the delivery, not some like random internet sweet seller.
otherwise known as a paedophile.
Yeah, but I can't give them up. They're just amazing. Like I love like the starry texture. I love the way it melts in your mouth, and I love the way that I'm intensively analysing a fucking sweet.
And they don't look like old ladies' heads.
No, and I've never seen a star called Nancy who's 56.
Brilliant. Well, getting back to the cereal front. If anybody is still listening, fair play if you are. My favourite cereal is Shreddies. Shreddies are just awesome. They melt in the mouth.
I used to love Shreddies, but again, eye of a needle. I much preferred Shreddies when they were soft.
Oh yeah. They're a different beast when they're soft. When they're hard, it's like eating somebody's knitting. You have to wait about 10 minutes for them to go soft, and then you tuck in, and it's beautiful.
Yeah, and anyone that can eat a hard Shreddy is weird.
Did you know that a jiffy is a unit of time for a hundredth of a second?
What a way to change the subject.
So when somebody tells you that they'll be back in a jiffy, unless they're Dash from The Incredibles, they're fucking lying.
I didn't actually know that. I thought it was just a word.
No, it's an actual measurement of time. Also, reindeer like to eat bananas.
Well, that was a wasted 10 years. I put out carrots on Christmas Eve like every other fucker when I could have, mixed it up a bit and given them a bit of variety.
There's a systematic lull in conversation every 7 minutes.
Yeah, I'm feeling that.
A pig's orgasm lasts for 30 minutes.
Well, I'm not feeling that one. 30 minutes? I don't know whether that would be a good thing or a bad thing, to be fair. I mean, if I had 30-minute orgasms, obviously they feel great, but I get to a point where I think I kind of want to get on with my day now. I don't want to be screaming my lungs out whilst I'm watching Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Would you put yourself through masochistic pain for a 30-minute orgasm?
Well, masochistic would imply that I'd enjoy the pain, so if I was going to enjoy the pain, then yeah, I probably would.
Yeah, good point.
I've got a question. Do you think masochists beat themselves up about being masochists?
What? What are you on about?
Well, it's part of the game, isn't it?
I love how we've gone from Weetabix, then on to weird facts, and then masochism. I mean, if this is a sign of where this podcast is going to go, I'm not sure I want to be here.
Well, it's the first thing that comes into our heads. This is where the conversation goes. Whatever happens, happens. We've come to masochism, and it's not like you haven't thrown in any peculiar curveballs with your jiffies and stuff like that.
My jiffies, you make them sound like something else. I've contributed some incredible facts to the show, things that people would not otherwise know. You've just talked about Weetabix and Magic Stars. I mean, there are more intriguing things in life than chocolate you had as a kid.
Well, go on then, enlighten me. What riveting subject could I be talking about right now? What is the primary thing that is in your mind right now?
Marionettes.
What the fuck are you on? Marionettes? I don't even know what they are.
They're those puppets on strings they're using like Thunderbirds and that.
Right, no, we're not talking about marionettes. No, change the subject.
Mountaineering.
Shut
Billiards.
the fuck
Cigarettes.
up.
You see, this is what happens when you don't create structure. You need things in place. I mean, you're a teaching assistant, aren't you?
I am, yeah, but why is that relevant?
Well, what would happen if you didn't have structure in there? There'd be kids jumping across tables with scissors in their hands, and the scissors would end up in someone's eyes. And
You been to my workplace?
what is the worst thing about working in a school?
Um, when a kid shits themselves, I hate that. Like, it's just such an unnecessary way to ruin my day. You know, when a kid comes up to me and says, "I've done a poo in my pants," or whatever, and as a model professional, the first thing I think is, "Oh, for fuck's sake." The second thing I think is, can I palm this on to somebody else? And the third thing I think is either that's a result or bollocks.
But this kid must be pretty embarrassed though. I mean, admitting to anybody that you've crapped yourself is pretty daunting. I mean, especially when you're a kid.
Well, yeah, it would be, but that's why I've come up with this theory. And basically, the theory is you need to make a decision that suits both parties. Do you know what I mean? A situation that suits both people.
So, what would that situation be?
Well, put it this way, right? Like you say, children are often embarrassed and don't want anybody to know, right? You don't want to tell me. I don't want to know. Keep it in there.
Keep it in there. Keep it in there. How on earth are you a professional educator? My fucking goodness, keep it in there. You want them to spend the rest of the day juggling this big log in their underwear.
Well, it saves me having to deal with it. I mean, I know it's really unprofessional and really lazy, but, you know, that's the way I am. And it's not like I would know that they crap themselves because they haven't told me.
But surely if you were in that situation, you want help.
I have been in that situation before. I just got on with it, sorted myself out.
You've been in that situation before. Like, when was that then?
Well, I was in primary school, right? I think it's about year 4. And one lunchtime, I just shat myself. I can't, excuse me, I can't remember the exact reason why it happened. Whether I tried to fart and just pushed a bit too hard. But it
Oh.
was weird because I never pooed at school. I never needed to poo at school. So it was really random.
Yeah, but you're in year 4. I mean, surely you're in a better position to sort yourself out when you're in year 4 as opposed to when you were younger.
Well, yeah, but I still didn't want anybody knowing.
Right, so what happened after that?
So I very quickly realised and went to the toilet to sort myself out. Luckily, for some reason, I had a carrier bag in my rucksack so I could put my Browning underwear in it. But there was a problem.
Right, well, what was the problem?
Well, we had PE later that afternoon, and we'd all get changed in the classroom together. And obviously, at some point in the changing process, we're down to our underwear.
Right, so how is this relevant to what we were just talking about?
Right, it's not, but we're going to carry on with the story now. So, I have to find a way to leave the classroom and replace my trousers with my shorts.
Right.
But our teacher wanted us to get changed straight away, and we grabbed our PE stuff straight off our pegs when we got back in after lunch. And I'm thinking, how the fucking hell am I going to get out of this? You know, I've got no underwear on. I've had to bring my PE stuff in with me. There's no way that I'm going to be able to smuggle shorts out. And generally, we weren't allowed to go to the toilet until we'd finished getting changed. So I'm really stuck at this point.
Why didn't you just change into your shorts at lunchtime and put your trousers on over them?
Because I forgot we were doing PE. And anyway, I was really stuck at this point. I didn't know what to do. So I thought it was time that I just played all my cards and I asked the teacher if I could go to the toilet. And she said, yeah, after you get changed you can. So I was
Oh
now
no.
royally fucked and I thought, well, what do I do? And then I noticed that the cupboard door was slightly ajar.
Oh, for
And
fuck's sake.
I thought, nah, surely not. I mean, I've done some stupid things in my time, but surely not. And I start to slightly shuffle towards the door. And I don't know whether I thought everybody else was blind as I suspiciously got closer and closer to this cupboard door. But this was happening. I was going to get changed in a cupboard.
So you're getting closer to this solution. What happens next?
So yeah, I'm getting quite close to it now, getting ready to do what is basically a human pit stop. I'm psyching myself up. I'm getting closer and closer and closer, and then just as I was about to put my hand on the doorknob, the TA came in. Then I asked her if I could go to the toilet, and she said yeah.
That is the most dissatisfactory ending to a story I've ever heard. I thought you were going to do it. I thought there was something exciting coming. Like, what a waste of 3 minutes.
You're telling me I wasted nearly 5 minutes shuffling towards a fucking cupboard. I was so relieved when I was allowed to go. You know, it's one of those situations where, you know, when you're so screwed and you
Yeah.
need any kind of divine intervention to get you out of it, and you don't think it's going to come, and then out of the blue you're given this like magical reprieve.
Did the teacher not notice that you were shuffling towards his door though?
Well, no, because she had her back turned, and she was doing some work at her desk. So as long as she didn't turn around, I had a chance of pulling it off. Obviously, as long as one of the other kids doesn't say, "Miss, Daniel's gone in the cupboard," and then that would have caused all sorts of problems.
Oh, for God's sake, what's that weird little bastard up to now?
But yeah, thankfully I got away with it, because I don't know what would have happened if I'd actually gone in there. And can you imagine if I'd been caught mid-change and it's just a naked boy in a cupboard with the teacher and the entire class looking at him?
Well, that's kind of what I wanted to happen, but that's the kind of thing that haunts you for life, and you'd have been forever known as that boy who stripped in a cupboard. Like I said, you should have just put your shorts on at lunchtime, and that would have made everything better.
I got away with it though. Just. Anyway, how that relates to other children shitting themselves, I don't know. I just thought it was a nice anecdote to share. But anyway, going back to the original point, keep it in your pants. Don't want to know.
There you go. Advice from an actual teaching assistant. Don't tell them you've pooed yourself.
Again, congratulations if you're still listening. Changing the subject entirely, because it's something that we both wanted to talk about, bringing a kind of structure and seriousness to this podcast, if not a random interjection. Lewis Hamilton has not long won the Japanese Grand Prix from Bottas in second and Verstappen in third, Sebastian Vettel finishing in sixth place. Hamilton now has a 67-point lead over Vettel with 4 races remaining. It's over now, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Hamilton has been supreme once again. After a helping hand in Russia, it was a pretty routine victory. Ferrari and Vettel have squandered it once again. I often look at Ferrari are like what Usain Bolt would be if you had a brain of a sea sponge. Do you know what I mean? The car has got something about it, even if they're not as good as Mercedes, but their strategy calls and decision making is just totally mindless. I mean, if you think about yesterday, every team went out in Q3 on dry tyres to see if they could get a lap in, which some drivers could. But by the time Ferrari realised, it was way too late, and Vettel was slipping and sliding, and he managed to be on the wrong tyre twice because he came out on wets afterwards when he came out on whatever it was, but he qualified ninth, and he did well to get back into contention, and then blew it all with a stupid move up the inside of Verstappen, who he should know in that part of the track is not going to give him an inch.
Yeah, I mean, to be perfectly honest, I think that was a pretty ridiculous move from Vettel. As soon as I saw him diving up the inside, I thought he was trouble. Soon enough, clouted into Verstappen, and that was it. I mean, there was touching distance of a podium, and instead he ended up a distant sixth. And if Lewis Hamilton wins next time out, Vettel has to finish second, otherwise Hamilton's clinched the title. And if Bottas is up there, I don't see that happening.
I think for Vettel to have any chance in this championship, I think Hamilton has to have at least two DNFs, and even then, it's a struggle.
And if Hamilton does have a DNF, Vettel has to win those races. I think to think that Ferrari had the best package at the start of the season and were a serious threat to Mercedes, Vettel and Hamilton were swapping back and forth in the championship, and yet again, in the second half of the season, like last year, they faltered. Whether it's a mentality thing, whether it's the tracks at the end of the season being better suited to Mercedes, I don't know. But they've bottled it again, and it's even more capitulating than it was last season. And unless Hamilton has a spectacular implosion, which he won't, Vettel's finishing second in this championship.
I think you pretty much summed it up. A few other mentions. I think Daniel Ricciardo drove a superb race to finish fourth after starting 15th. I think Toro Rosso messed up a big chance. I think Gasly did as much as he could. But Hartley had a poor race. I think next year is going to be a big season for Brendan Hartley, if he's got that seat for next year, of course. And I think the Verstappen penalty was fair. I think he should have anticipated that Kimi was going to be there and should have taken a different line. So I think that's justified. But another decent drive from Verstappen, regardless, to finish third.
Okay, so I think that's the F1 done. Those of you who are not into motorsport can breathe a huge sigh of relief. That was quite different from cereal and shitting yourself, but is there actually any other business? Because I know we didn't set a huge agenda for this first episode. It was going to be sort of like an introductory thing, just basically, just introducing the podcast and giving our listeners a taste of what they're in for. So, have we actually got anything else to bring to the table?
Before the rotation of the Earth, an
Before.
object can be thrown further if it's thrown west.
What do you mean before the rotation of the Earth? Do you mean because of the rotation? There wasn't a time before rotation began.
Oh yeah, it does say because. Yeah, but objects are apparently thrown further if they're heading west.
Is there any reasoning to these, or are they just plain facts?
They're just plain facts.
I'd quite like to know why that is. Are you sure that's a true fact and it's not just some inbred theory?
Well, that's what it says.
Well, then it must be true.
It might be something to do with wind direction and natural rotations and stuff.
I think we're going to end it there. This might end up being quite short for a podcast, but obviously it's our first time doing this, so this is going to take a bit of getting used to, and once we get used to talking about shite into a microphone, I have no doubt that we will work ourselves up to a decent length.
I imagine that a lot of people listening to this episode spent the whole time trying to work out which one of us is the weird one. We've both come out with some really strange stuff today.
We have indeed. Anyway, we are going to end this podcast here, so thank you very much for listening. We haven't really created any kind of social media or any links for this podcast yet because we're exceptionally prepared, but by the time this comes out we'll have that sorted. So the links, if you're listening on YouTube, the links will be in the description below. If you're listening on SoundCloud, which I'm 99% sure that's where we're going to put it, it will be wherever the description is. As you can probably tell, I haven't worked out SoundCloud yet. But that is going to be everything for the first episode. So thank you for joining us. It's been interesting. We're hoping to make this a weekly thing, but anyone that knows me already knows that I don't particularly stick to schedules very well, but we'll see.
But thank you very much for listening. We hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please consider dropping a like on there and sharing it about. That would be greatly appreciated. And we'll see you in the next one.
What he said. Bye for now.